Hi, in this video, we'll learn to collect or aggregate data by using and combining different data sets. The process of gathering and combining data is known as data aggregation. A quality data set might pull data from multiple sources to be able to compare and ensure consistency before analyzing the data. The structure and naming conventions of each different data set must be clean and prepared to be able to join or merge these data sets successfully. Let's take a look at how this can be completed using a few pandas and Python functions. A big part of combining datasets deals with grouping and sorting your data. We're going to use the Google Book dataset. This dataset includes a large amount of data, and if you remember, there were a lot of duplicates. So before we go any further, we want to import this dataset, and we're going to drop the duplicates as well. All right, let's give ourselves some space. Let's take a look at grouping first. There are a few different things you can use with a grouping function. The grouping function we're going to use is called group by. So you call on the dataset, and then you use the group by function. And in here, you tell Python which column you'd like to group by. Let's go with publisher. We're also going to add on the count function. And what this does is it will group everything by publisher and count the number of entries that include that publisher in the dataset. And let's print this out. So here we see that the data was grouped by publisher alphabetically. What these numbers mean is that Amicon shows up in 6 entries or 6 different titles. Ballantine Books must have 2 different titles. And the reason these numbers are all the same is that they probably go along with each other. So the different title goes with a different author, goes with a different rating. So Ballantine Books has 2 different titles that also include different authors, different ratings, and so forth. This is a lot to look at, so we can clean this up a bit. This time, instead of including all of the columns, let's just include one of them. Let's go with the author column. And we can use dot notation here. So .author, .count. Well, that's much better, and the same numbers are shown. So here we still know that Amicon shows up in 6 entries, Abrams in 1, Andrews McNeil Publishing in 1, and so forth. If we want more than one column, or if we can't use dot notation, we can actually use a list in here as well. We'll put 2 sets of brackets, and the columns go in the inside brackets. Let's print out the author and the rating. Great, now we have both columns. And this is interesting. If we look at Amicon, it's included in entries with 6 different authors, but no ratings. So something must be going on where we're missing ratings for the publisher Amicon. Let's see what else we can do. Instead of counting up all of the entries, let's say we wanted to group by publisher, but then we wanted to take a look at the price. And instead of counting the different prices, let's find the max price. And since there's a lot, let's only show the first 5. All right, excellent. Again, it groups it by publisher in alphabetical order. And then it shows us the max price for each publisher. So it doesn't show us the max price in the data set, but only the max price per publisher. So Amicon had 6 entries. So its max price was $58.99. And you might be able to tell that these are not in order. This is where the sort function comes in handy later on. There's a few other things we can do. Instead of just finding the max, we can print out a few things at once. There's a function called AGG for aggregate, and we can include a few parameters in here. We can show the minimum, the maximum, and the sum of all of the prices all at once. Cool, so here we see the minimum price, the maximum price, and the sum of all prices. And like Abrams only had 1 entry, so the minimum is the same as the max is the same as the sum. One more thing we can do is instead of displaying the minimum, the maximum, and the sum, we can display all values and sort them. All right, well, here are Amicon's 6 prices in sorted order. So again, this isn't sorting by data set, this is sorting just by your grouping. So it's sorting by each individual publisher. But sorting the whole data set would definitely be very helpful. So let's take a look at some of those functions. We'll delete this and start with a sort function. So we call on the data set, and the sort function we're going to use is called sort_values. And this time the parameter goes in there as by equals, and then the name of the column. Let's go by title. And again, there are a lot of these, so let's just go with the first 5. And we want to print this. We need a lot of space for this because that is a really long title. So this is hard to see at first, but this is sorted in alphabetical order. This title starts with a quote. This title starts with a parentheses. Then this one starts with the number 1, and this one starts with the number 10. So it's always going to list the titles or entries that start with symbols first, followed by numbers, and then followed in alphabetical order. Since there's so many of these strange outliers, let's put an author instead. Now we can see that the author column is how we're sorting this. So we have Adam K followed by Agatha Christie. We also have the option of sorting in the opposite way. So we can start with authors that start with the letter Z instead. The way we do this is by putting in another parameter. The default is ascending order. So if we want it in descending order, it's a little bit strange, but we're going to take the ascending parameter and set it equal to false. And now we can see our authors are listed and sorted in alphabetical order descendingly. So starting with the Z and then Y and then so forth. All right, now we're going to get a little bit more complicated. What if we wanted to sort by 2 different columns? We start the same, but this time we put in a list of columns. So let's say we wanted to sort by the rating and the author. And let's show the first 10 this time. Now, if we look at these 2 columns, it doesn't look like the author was sorted. But what happened here is it's going to sort by the rating first, and you can see it's ascending. It's starting with the lowest rating. And then if 2 items have the same rating, like 3.3 and 3.3, then it's going to go over here and then sort the author. So Barbara Allen comes before Jason Aaron. But let's say we wanted to see the top ratings, but we wanted the author in alphabetical order from A to Z first. We can do that with the ascending parameter and a list. So we put in the ascending parameter. We want the rating column to be descending, so we're going to put in false here. But we want the author column to be ascending, so we'll put in true. All right, so we see all the top ratings, all at 5. And then what it does is it takes the authors and puts them in alphabetical order from A to Z. This can be a tricky subject, so let's use a smaller data frame to explore this a bit further. I'm going to paste in a data frame that just lists a few numbers and a few letters. We're going to sort this using the sort value function. And let's sort by numbers first, and then letters. And we want to print it. This should say sort values. There we go. So the default is ascending. So it's sorting the numbers first in ascending order. So these are both 3. Then, since they're both 3, it's going to jump over here and sort the letters. So G comes before R. If we look at both 7s, A comes before Z. So let's add in the ascending parameter. The default is that these are both true. So putting in this would not change anything. But let's say we wanted the top numbers to be listed first. All right, and now it listed both 7s first. The letters are still in ascending order. If we wanted to change that and we wanted the 7 and the Z to come first, then we would make these both false. Excellent. Now what if we wanted the letters sorted first and then the numbers? To be able to do that, we would have to change it in this first list. So we would change this to letters and then change this one to numbers. We'll hit run. So now it's sorting the columns both in descending order, starting with the letters. So the letters are put in descending order, Z, R, and there's 2 Gs. So the 2 Gs, if we pop over here, it's going to list the highest number and then the lowest number since it's going in descending order. All right, hopefully that's helped. We're going to look at a summary of these functions in just a bit. Here's a summary of the functions that you can use to group in pandas. And here's a summary of the functions that you can use to sort in pandas. All right, well now it's your turn to dive deeper and explore more about these concepts.